Hello YouTube, my name is Nero, and last night I actually ended up asking myself a question. And that question was, if I could make a Call of Duty game, what kind of game would I make? How would I put together this Call of Duty game? And I think it's a very interesting question that we should all be asking ourselves. What would you do if you could make a Call of Duty game? You are now the head honcho. You are the guy who is going to take whatever studio you want, you're going to put together whatever Call of Duty game you want, which will feature whatever features you want, whatever setting you want, whatever weapons you want. What would you do if you could make your own Call of Duty game? That is a very interesting question to me. So I've come up with my idea. I'm going to be explaining that here in this video, but keep in mind this is going to be a rough outline of the things that I would like to do and the goals that I would like to accomplish if I were able to make my own Call of Duty game. So the first thing that we need to do if I'm making a Call of Duty game would be hire a developer, right? We need to actually have people to put together this game because I can't just make it all myself. I'm just a guy telling everybody what to do, right, in this particular scenario. So without even the slightest hesitation, I would pick Treyarch to be my developer. Treyarch would by far be my first choice because they are absolutely amazing. I've always loved Treyarch games ever since Call of Duty World at War, which was the first Treyarch game I played. I've never been disappointed by a Treyarch Call of Duty, and in fact, Treyarch is the only studio in which I actually make it to the max level in that game every time they put out a new game because I absolutely adore Treyarch in the style of game that they actually put together. So the first thing I would do is hire Treyarch. They would be the developer that I would be working with to put together my Call of Duty game. Next up, we need a setting. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think this is going to be very much of a surprise, but I would pick, without even the slightest hesitation, World War II. We would be set between 1939 and 1945. We would be in World War II, and I think that would just be fantastic. We need a new World War II Call of Duty. Sure, World War II was done way too many times, way back in the day, back in the early 2000s. Every shooter game was World War II, but if you really think about it, we've only had one proper World War II Call of Duty game, which would be World at War, because that was the only World War II COD that had perks and the prestige system and create a class and stuff like that. Like COD 1, 2, and 3, those were so basic, I don't even really consider them to be Call of Duty games, which I know may offend some people, but I'm just saying, like, a proper Call of Duty game is every COD after COD 4, where we had prestige and create a class and customization and stuff like that. So we would have a new World War II Call of Duty, and it would be going back to Call of Duty's roots of being a gritty war game. Campaign is typically worked on first, so we're going to be starting things off here with campaign. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for us to put together a bunch of multiplayer maps and build a campaign around those multiplayer maps. That seems a little bit silly. And I admit it's going to be very easy to put together a World War II campaign game because it's been done a bazillion times already, and there's just so much groundwork already laid out for us in terms of putting together a good World War II Call of Duty campaign. But still, that would be the decision I would make. We're going to start working on our Call of Duty campaign. It's going to be a lot like previous World War II games, but it's going to be newer, right? It's going to be different. It's going to be better, in my opinion, because it's going to have new graphics, and we're able to actually do a lot more cool and interesting things because we're actually working with hardware that was made in the past couple of years, whereas the last Call of Duty World War II game we had was in 2008. So we can definitely do a lot of very cool and interesting things. Like, you look at how far Call of Duty has gone since Call of Duty World at War, it's kind of nuts. So I think we could do a lot of really cool and interesting things with the campaign. Now, a lot of people know that I'm not a big single player guy, especially when it comes to Call of Duty. I don't care too much about the single player. I haven't even played through Black Ops 3's campaign yet, but still, I would work very hard to make sure that this particular campaign would feature some of the most iconic sites and battles of World War II to make it feel like a very fun and interesting campaign. We would participate in D-Day, Stalingrad, Pearl Harbor, Wake Island, Okinawa, the Battle of the Bulge. We'd be going to Berlin, and the list would just continue to go on and on after that. We would have big, iconic battles, but they would be seen in a very different way. And again, I admit it's very difficult to make a World War II campaign that feels new since there's been so many World War II games in the past, but I would try to make this game feel unique enough to sate most people's desire for a strong Call of Duty campaign. And I also think it would be very interesting to explore aspects of World War II that are rarely actually seen in video games as well, like the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Hitler's suicide and the burning of Hitler's body, or the liberation of concentration camps and stuff like that. Again, this is just a really rough outline, but I think a modern day World War II campaign would be absolutely fantastic, and I would try my best to explore not only super iconic battles, but also things that we don't typically see in video games. Again, stuff involving Hitler, stuff involving the nukes that we dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and of course concentration camps and things like that. Like, I would try to make it a very gritty, very real, in-your-face World War II campaign. Now, with the campaign, or at least the rough sketch of the campaign out of the way, it's time to begin work on Call of Duty's bread and butter, which of course would be the multiplayer. This game would be a true World War II multiplayer game. The maps would be set in authentic locations, and they would be a bit bigger than we're used to with recent Call of Duty games. A lot of COD maps back in the day, I would say Black Ops 1 and back, were actually pretty big multiplayer maps. If you compare that to like Black Ops 2 or Advanced Warfare or Black Ops 3, like, these maps are getting smaller and smaller as the years go by. We're going back to bigger maps because it's going to fit the weapons that are in my World War II game a lot better. And speaking speaking of weapons, there's going to be a lot of them in this game, just for the sake of variety. There won't even be weapons that even perform that much differently. We're just throwing in a bunch of weapons for the sake of fun and the sake of variety. Call of Duty World at War, for example, had 4 submachine guns, and 2 shotguns. Like, that's not a lot of variety. My game's gonna have a ton of them. I would aim for 10 rifles, 7 submachine guns, 4 shotguns, 6 sniper rifles, 6 light machine guns, and a variety of special weapons like machetes or Bowie knives or flamethrowers and stuff like that. We would have a bunch of weapons, a bunch of variety in this game. Weapons would be customizable in my Call of Duty game, though the game itself would not feature weapon camos, because weapon camos are really just something that we didn't see a lot of in World War II. Well, sure, some people would have camos and stuff, but for the most part, it wasn't really that big of a thing, and I would rather have the weapons look authentic and real. So instead, we would incentivize players to complete challenges by getting different appearance changes to their weapons. For example, if you complete 150 headshots with your Mosin Nagant, you'd unlock a wrap for your sniper rifle, which would actually look pretty cool. There's plenty of other customization options that would be available as well, because weapons aren't just limited to one look. I mean, for example, if you look at the different types of Thompson submachine guns, there's a bunch of different Tommy guns throughout history, so why not have a Thompson submachine gun as a weapon in this game? And then by doing different challenges and stuff like that, you can unlock different kind of skins and variants of that submachine gun. Now, of course, they would all be the same. They would perform exactly the same, no stats differences whatsoever, just cosmetically they would look different based upon different challenges that you could complete. Another example would be, again, going back to the Mosin Nagant. There are many different Mosin Nagants out there, so we just have a Mosin Nagant in the game, and then by doing different challenges, you would unlock different variants and different skins for your Mosin Nagant that would look different and make you feel unique. I would also have special monthly challenges for special weapon skins. The idea in my head is, for example, again, this is just a rough outline, if you get 2,500 kills in November, then you unlock a special weapon variant that cannot be obtained after the end of that month. I love exclusive content like that. It serves as a bit of a badge of honor, and I've talked about it before, but Hearthstone, which is another game that I play, it's a card game. Basically, in that game, if you make it up to rank 20, you get a special card back for that month, and once that month is actually over, nobody can obtain that card back ever again. I like that. It kind of incentivizes people to try to play the game because they want to try to get this exclusive content that after a certain time, there's a cutoff point, it's never going to come back. And of course, these special things would be very cool weapon skins for popular weapons and stuff like that, or maybe different things that could customize your soldier. I don't know how far I'd want to go with like soldier customization, but still, that's basically what I would try to do with that. I think it'd be a very interesting system as a whole. Kill streaks, however, are a bit more tough to come up with since technology was so limited in World War II. I mean, of course, we could have spy planes that would work as a UAV. We could have bombing runs. We could have artillery strikes. To borrow ideas from World War, we could have attack dogs. But I'm really having trouble coming up with a big list of fun and interesting kill streaks that would also be authentic to World War II. I mean, one idea that came to mind would be something similar to a death machine where you could put down like a big mountable machine gun, because of course, mounted machine guns were a big part of World War II. I think that could work, but aside from that, I would really need some help coming up with fun and interesting kill streaks for this game, because again, technology was so limited. I don't want to have, somebody being able to like earn a tank of some kind and ride through the battlefield on a tank. I think that'd be kind of silly, so I would definitely need some help from people at Treyarch and you guys coming up with some ideas for kill streaks for this Call of Duty game. The maps, like I said, would be authentic World War II locations, and there would be a nice mix of them, because World War II scaled across the entire planet, basically, so we would have a lot of room for some very nice variety to the multiplayer maps. We would have the war-torn streets of Stalingrad, and we'd also have the natural beauty of Wake Island. Some maps would be set in forests, other ones in open fields, some of them on farms, some of them in Berlin factories or Japanese airfields. There'd be a lot of very fun, interesting, authentic World War II locations. Perks are going to be basically the ones that we already know and love. I wouldn't get too far into the perks, honestly. We would have ones like Flak Jacket and Tac Mask or Marathon, Bomb Squad, Bandolier, Scavenger, Steady Aim, and stuff like that. I'd even consider not having a Ghost perk. It'd be interesting to see how the perks would actually work out, because one of the things that made me love World at War as much as I did was the fact that nobody really tried to hide from the UAV. It made the game very fast because they had to use Stopping Power or Juggernaut, basically. They're almost mandatory perks. And so the game itself was very fast-paced as a result of that, but although I'm a bit unsure as to whether or not it would be good to bring back Stopping Power and Jug, I think it'd be better to not have those. So if we do have a perk like Ghost in the game, we would have to balance that out somehow so that everybody wouldn't want to just run that particular thing, because again, a game where people are hiding from a UAV is typically going to be a pretty slow game. With the multiplayer just about all wrapped up, it's time to start thinking about the extra mode, which of course is going to be Spec Ops, right? I'm just kidding. Zombies! It'd be freaking zombies. Everybody loves zombies. And of course, we'd be working with Treyarch, so they would have the free reign to do whatever they want. I'm somebody who just likes zombies. As a very casual zombies fan, I'm not like super into it. I don't really follow the story. I don't pay too much attention to it. I just like to play zombies on occasion. So I would really leave a lot of it to the Treyarch staff to put together zombies, although I would just ask that they try to make most of it World War II themed, like we saw in World at War with the Reese, Shinonuma, Verrucht, and everybody's favorite Nocturne and Toten, obviously. I'd want Double Tap 2.0, I'd want the double upgrade Pack-a-Punch, I'd want the new perks and new wonder weapons, all the things that they've been working on to innovate zombies over the past couple of years, but just make it work within the context of World War II. That's all I'd really ask. I think that would be the best thing for my zombies map in my Call of Duty game, and the thing that ultimately comes down to it is, what would I name this Call of Duty game? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea what I would name this Call of Duty game. I've actually been racking my brain a bit as to what I would want to call this thing, and I can't come up with an idea, and so I'm going to ask you guys in the comments, because I'm super bad at this. Could you guys come up with a name for this Call of Duty game? Because I can't quite think of one. I think you guys are a lot more creative than I am anyway, at least in terms of names. Like, some people are going to say Call of Duty Nero, which, that's boring. Come on, that's too obvious. Make it something good. Make it something that has to do with World War II and, like, the realities of war and the grit of war, but also make it Call of Duty teams. I don't know. What would you guys name this particular Call of Duty game? Not World at War II. I think that's a little bit too easy as well. But if you guys could come up with that for me down there in the comments, that would definitely be pretty interesting. And, of course, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the Call of Duty game that I personally would want to put together. This would be the next Treyarch games. So right now, let's say hypothetically this were magically happening, then I would go out to Los Angeles. I would start working with Treyarch. I'd probably live in LA over the 3 years while this is being developed, and this would be the game that I would put out when it's now time for Treyarch to put out their next Call of Duty game. Of course, after Infinite Warfare and after Sledgehammer comes out with whatever they're going to be coming out with the year after this one. So that's what I would do. I think it'd be very fun. I think it'd be a very welcome return to World War II, and I think people would like it. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I hope you guys all found it entertaining. If you did, please drop me a rating. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.